think of the I thought we should do like uh, contractor innovation and news. And so the idea would be, what do you think is
Mhm.
going on with Iran? The U.S. is crazy. I mean, the
Yeah.
geopolitical, like Trump is an idiot. Like I never thought Trump was as bad as he is, but it's all that Israel thing, right? And I
Yeah.
think I think you're Muslim, are you not?
Yes, I am Muslim.
Yes. So the people of Pakistan are mostly Muslim,
Yes,
and so
93% Muslim. Yeah.
so you sympathize with the Palestinians.
Yes.
I think Israel. I believe Israel is the Gazarian mafia. They call it the Gazarian mafia, but I believe they're reptilian. So I don't think
Yeah.
people that operate the way we see are anything more than maybe from another world. Like the God of this world is the devil. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
Yeah.
Um, so I find it hard to believe because I'm a pretty pure soul, pretty honest person. And when I look at how the U.S. military is behaving, and I'm voting for Iran relative to their missiles. Like it's amazing their technology, their ability to do hypersonic missiles. But I also think that we might be headed to a nuclear war. I think
It's a
Israel's
possibility.
Israel's the type of country that would, although the new Ayatollah apparently is not against having nuclear weapons, but he's not going to say it.
Yeah.
But
And Israel, the only country, who could just blast all of the countries and like who has the permit, right? So it's like with Israel and everything, the way that they have been doing, and if you go back in 80s and 90s when they actually came to Palestine, and if you look at the old map of Palestine and compared to what it is right now, you would see a massive difference that the Palestine is tot what it used to be, it's gone. Now most of
yeah,
it's occupied by Israel, and it, it, it just doesn't make sense. And there's a lot of support from US to Israel as well, and the only country that has influence over United States is the Israel. Like otherwise United States used to rule the whole world, right? So and it still does, but when it comes to Israel, then they give them aid. It also gives them the proper support of military support as well. It also gives them the proper intelligence support as well. So, and it's open right now, and they would see it. Like uh, we talked about this, I think 3, 4 podcasts before as well. It's the beginning of the end, and they would soon realize it, what they are doing, because they are just not going in a direction where we are headed for peace. They talk about that they are peacemakers, but I haven't seen peace in the past 20 years. I have just seen like babies getting killed. I have seen hospitals getting blasted. I've seen road getting destroyed. And if you see Gaza right now and comparison of Gaza is just you would if you're a human, you would not be able to see that. Like it's just fully flat. All the buildings are destroyed. Every
yeah,
single thing.
they live in tunnels, you
Yeah,
know.
they live
But
in tunnels.
The Israelis don't have the skill to go into the tunnels and smoke them out, you know.
Yeah.
There's I think the Israelis are under the gun now. I believe that they've lost a lot of people, and these hypersonic missiles every night they hit the city.
Y-
The
Yeah,
tech, the technology. So
yeah, the
it's a
retaliation for Iran is there, and Iran is not going to just stop like that. And it's the only Muslim country, Iran, that is like stooding up and then just talking that, okay, what you're doing is wrong. You have to stop what you're doing. And that has also started, direct uh, attack on or thing on United States as well. That has always been like hey, I'm gonna punch you in the face. I'm not gonna stop. So I Iran is something like this, and it's really good to see that somebody is, you know,
Standing up to them. Yeah.
yeah, standing up to them and pointing that you're doing shit, and that's bad.
I was happy to see in some ways that the the strikes they made in places like Saudi Arabia and the other
Mm-hmm.
U.S. bases. The U.S. was really caught off guard with that, you
Yeah.
know. But Iran is they're smart people, you know. They're good engineers and they're smart people. And
Yeah.
like there was no reason they had to have this war. But I guess when people are talking about Greater Israel for 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
this Greater Israel was to take over Iran. And you wonder what they're thinking when they have to absorb 90 million people and get the US to drop bombs on them for months. They're not going to give up.
Mm-hmm.
I think basically what we're seeing is the end of Netanyahu and the Zionists. I got to believe, I heard Netanyahu was dead. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
Like,
there has been a lot of videos. Most of
of,
the people are saying that they are AI generated. Yeah. It's been like a conversation since the past 2 weeks. You're right.
yeah. So, and then, and you know what it's true. I don't know if you knew this, but the technology to clone humans has been around for years. So you could take two cells and
Okay.
reproduce a human being. You know, there was a famous set of podcasts called William Tompkins, part one, two, and three, The Search for Truth. And William Tompkins was part of the space program. Like at one point in time, the US invested in going into outer space. So they've gone further than they've admitted. And William Tompkins was an engineer who whose father worked at San Diego. It was um, gave him access to San Diego, so he built these scale models of battleships. So, well,
Okay.
his book is called "Selected by Extraterrestrials." So he was picked by the Nordics, and the Nordics helped the U.S. in a positive way uh, to get into outer space, to get into distant galaxies. So it's sort of like a Star Trek thing, but
Okay.
it's a well worth reading. Selected by Extraterrestrials. Should be
Uh,
able to
I'll
buy
write
it
that down.
at any bookstore, you know, iBooks or
okay.
William Tompkins, part one, two, and three, Search for Truth. It's actually still on YouTube. You go on YouTube, William Tompkins, Search for
Okay.
Truth, part one, two, and three. It's fascinating. And
You're right actually, and I was watching the news the other time, and I've seen in social media as well. There's a company in Japan that has been doing that has started the cloning process, the initial cloning process of the genetics and everything. But before that, there is a company in US, I think in there are US based company that has already worked on there was a dire wolf that they have um and it's right now alive and it's there. They have that species was extinct. Okay. So they use the genetics uh, of all the fossils of that they found of those species, and then they created a whole new, like they created the actual dire wolf. Okay, and now they are alive, they are playing, and they are living in a specific kind of environment which is suited for them, and they are 24/7 under surveillance and everything. So I will hit you up with the company name later, but it's online right now. They have been getting lots of funding from the people. Like it's millions of dollars of funding from government, millions of dollars of funding from billionaires, and the cloning process is there. And with the how AI is evolving right now, maybe in the next 15, 20 years, we might see it possible. Maybe we'll have like another Martin in
I
Pakistan
I
sitting
I
here with
think
me.
I think that they've been already able to clone people for the last 20 years and they've just kept it a
Or even,
secret.
yeah, even longer. Like
Yeah.
William Tompkins talked
Yeah.
about when in his Search for Truth, the three-part
Hmm.
series, he talks about a pill called the 20 and back. So if you take this pill, it'll bring you 20 years younger. Like
Okay.
just
Oh.
like you 20 years ago, 20 years younger. And so he applied for it and they didn't give it to him.
Hmm.
But he or they did give it to him and nobody's heard from him.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
I think he died a natural death. But I'd highly recommend
He died of young
the
age.
search the search for truth.
So if a 20
Um,
years old eat that, that means that he's going to turn into a baby.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, no, but you'd be 60 and you could be 40 again, right? You
Hmm.
could do it
Yeah.
twice, apparently. You could do it twice.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Interesting.
I'll send you the YouTube
Yeah.
Okay.
and I'll send it to Dante too.
I
Sounds
think we
good.
should have a short about it as well, like in about this thing about Israel and Iran and about this
Yeah,
whole
by all means, I'm like we call it laugh and learn, eh? Like the
right.
idea of the podcast. So you can pretty well stretch um, your shorts in terms of I'm happy with the work you do. You're very creative, and I think that I'll always fund Dante now, so that
Yeah.
you don't have to do the shorts and then get paid. Like just do five every time, and I'll just keep
Hmm.
advancing Dante the extra bit of money.
Yep.
Anyhow, I guess it was a good podcast. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that the Chem Concrete guys are got their backs up, so we won't
Okay.
do anything positive for them right now in terms of we'll have to wait
Hmm.
for a few things to develop.
By the way, a quick question. What about Keller?
Well, Keller is looking very good. So
Okay.
I'm doing a submission. I'm actually going to courier it out tomorrow. And
Okay.
it was execution strategies on my patents. So I'm promising them a 2-year payback and
Okay.
uh, and things like that. And I realized that you can't just sell someone a bunch of patents. You got to give them the people. So my associate is William Chen. He's been on the sidelines a bit sometimes, but he's a
Yeah.
shotcrete specialist. So we're CH Shotcrete, and
Hmm.
we're both going to do at least a 2-year contract to prove a 2-year payback on the patents.
Okay.
So
I hope everything works out well and you
yeah,
achieve that.
I feel good about it. And
Okay. That's good. I'll pray.
uh, yeah, that'd be good. Prayers are always welcome.
Yeah.
The Do you think prayer is a universal medium? I mean, you're praying to Muhammad. Would that be true?
No, I pray to Allah. Muhammad is the
Allah.
messenger of Allah who
Is
talks about the God and who gives the message of God to us.
So Allah is God. So it's similar
Yes.
to I can pray to God even though the prophet is Jesus Christ. Is if I'm,
Uh,
let's say, Christian.
yeah, the difference between this is that we think that Jesus is a prophet and Jesus is not a God. God is only one entity and there's nobody can who can take or who can be that. So we think that there's
No,
only one entity. Yeah.
yeah, so I agree with you. He's a prophet.
Yeah.
He's like, would he be like Muhammad?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I go to a Christian church on Sundays, and
Hmm.
the young minister is very, very good. His name's Mike, and but he believes that if you don't call Jesus Christ your Savior, you won't get to heaven. And I said to him, I said, well, how can that be true if you have
Hmm.
uh, Muslims that are good people,
Yeah.
that they're going to be rewarded in the afterlife for
Mhm.
being honest people. And it does,
Yeah.
it doesn't like I just can't see how the prophets are the differentiate how you can say that it has to be Jesus Christ, but he clearly says that. I can get him on the questions, but I don't push it too much, because everybody in the church, everybody in the chapel is Christian.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a
And
little better. It's a little better than Catholic. Like I grew up Catholic, and I mean, the
okay.
Vatican is another story, right? That
Yeah, that's a
whole
whole nother
Roman Catholic thing.
podcast.
Yeah, it's a whole nother podcast. But I believe that you have to live. Like for instance, I said to the pastor, I said, well, if you follow the Ten Commandments, how can you go wrong? Right? Like the Ten Commandments or whatever that particular uh, religion espouses, where you're basically living God's law, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that if you're a good person, that you should be able to pray for salvation when do we live again? That's the question. Do we get reincarnated? Because they say the earth is actually a soul trap. It's actually, and that's related to the reptilians.
Actually,
You
it
know,
talks about Quran actually talks about the same thing as well, and it's a very fascinating book, and I would really like invite you to read that as well. There's an English translation always available for that, and it talks about that. Uh, God talks in that book that if you think that you were born and you was created, why don't you believe that you can be born again with a different life and different systems and different thing? So, and it talks about a lot of other aspects as well, which we know, and in Quran it also talks about that how these people have always been pushing and trying to make their power, which directly showcases to what's been Israel, what Netanyahu and Israel doing right now, right? And they call themselves peacemakers, but they are not peacemakers. We and then when we read that up in the book, I just believe just gets right up to that again, that whatever God is saying is absolutely correct, and it is absolutely correct because it it just makes a lot of sense there.
they say that when you're reincarnated or when you die,
Yeah.
that you should move away from the light. Don't move towards the light. Most people make the mistake of moving towards the light, and
Okay.
that's the mistake. That's the soul trap. Where because you really don't want to live. You want to go to heaven, right? You don't really want to. I don't know about going back on Earth. I know I don't really have a desire to get reborn on Earth, but they say the reptilians did that. Do you believe in the reptilians? Have you heard of that, Muhammad? Or
Mm, I
you know what I mean?
have, yeah, the last time I spoke with you, you told me about the story. But yeah, that's a big debate to talk about.
Yeah. Well, the
The
reptilians are from, the universe is teeming with extraterrestrial life. And so there's no uh, like the reptilians are from the Orion galaxy. So they basically are evil and, they have, literally they can shapeshift. And
okay.
A lot of the US politicians are reptilian. So
Yeah,
Clinton was reptilian,
I've
Obama was
watched a couple of
reptilian.
videos about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So they ended up, in my opinion, the Israelis are reptilian. So, there's no way that they're the chosen race and that somebody said that, every, you've got to you've got to
Bullshit.
let, I know, like it's totally, why would they be chosen? But they believe that. And, but I think what happened with Netanyahu is he got hit with a missile and his whole senior team was killed. And he was injured and he flew to Germany but his plane is still in Germany, so because he died in Germany. But they can use this clone to show him walking around again, right? Because they have like 4 or 5 clones, same as Trump. Trump has a few clones, so they end up being able to pull a new one out. It's almost,
They keep them on like a cold storage or something like that, just for when they need them.
I always get,
yeah.
very confused when I talk about the previous president of United States, which was like Joe Biden, and I see the interviews that he does. So it's a whole other story I'd like to
So
talk.
no, you know that Biden actually died when Trump was in his first term. Joe Biden died. So the guy that was Joe Biden as the president, he was actually an actor. He had a mask on, and so they wanted to do the depopulation thing, and I don't think Trump was too keen on it. Like he basically, take ivermectin or whatever. So they took that away from Trump, and they gave it to Biden, so Biden would push the needles. Now the reason they're doing the needles, do you know why they're doing the needles?
No.
Is because we're going to go through a pole shift. So we're
Yeah.
15 years from a pole shift. Did you know that? Yeah. So I'm prepping for that. I'm unfortunately I lived a good life. I feel sorry for the people who maybe haven't, but you can prep. You have to get on a rock that's at least 4,000 feet, like the eastern side of the Rockies are a safe spot to be.
Yeah,
And so you
Colorado's
want to
pretty
get
nice.
in Alberta. Yeah, like that's right. Have you been to Colorado, Dante?
That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah,
That's where he is, right?
you're even right now. Even right now.
Yeah,
You look good.
yeah.
You got a tan.
I may have spent
So you're
a
not
few
gonna.
weeks in Miami.
Yeah.
No,
Well, I'm
but yeah,
glad you're
no,
enjoying
Colorado's
yourself.
pretty high up, so yeah. Yeah.
Well, the guy that's on Space Weather News, what's his name? Ben Davidson. He's one of the leading podcasters on. He did a movie called what's it called? I can send you that movie, but it's basically the disaster cycle. So this idea that every 12,000 years the poles shift, the North Pole is going to go to the equator. That's what we're gonna, and it happens in 7 days.
Wow.
And so it's pretty well. So that's why they gave everyone the COVID shot. So if you took the COVID shot, you should take the antidote. I know the antidote, which is a masterpiece. Right?
Baby, I need to know.